In today's video, Chris Hansen comes after Onision and Kai. I will be discussing who Chris Hansen has interviewed and Onision's response. That story coming up now. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. If you're a return subscriber, I really do appreciate your continued support. If you're new here and you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Everyone give this video a big thumbs up, click on that notification bell and select it to all. That way you'll be notified when I upload my next video. Before we get started, and as always, I do need to remind you guys that I am a drama commentary channel. I have opinions and I speak them freely. Opinions are not facts, they never have been facts, and they never will be facts. Because of the nature of this video, I do need to also let you guys know that all of the information in my video is alleged. I cannot prove nor deny anything. Again, all the information in this video is alleged. I also wanted to let you guys know that this video may be very triggering for some. If you are sensitive to topics such as abuse, please click off now. I do want to make one note. This word that you see on the screen right now is being flagged by YouTube, so from now on you will hear me refer to it as PRETA. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. On October 16th, Chris Hansen interviewed well-known YouTuber Blaire White on his YouTube streaming show, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen has been confronting and going after predators for over 30 years, so it isn't shocking that the topic of discussion was Onision and Kai, given the accusations made against them. Chris Hansen had been hearing of Onision for quite some time and reached out to Blaire White to further discuss who he is and what he's being accused of. Chris Hansen's team reached out to Onision as well prior to the live stream to see if he would be interested in coming on the show to tell his side of the story, and Onision requested to be paid $350,000 to appear. Clearly Chris Hansen wasn't going to shell out $350K to him, so Onision was absent from the show. If asking for money wasn't arrogant enough, Onision also threatened to sue Hansen's shoe, it was a typo, if they got into the allegations of child grooming that he and Kai have been accused of by several victims. Clearly the threat of being sued wasn't enough to stop Chris or Blaire, and the interview took place as planned. Blaire discussed that both Onision and Kai have been accused of child grooming, and she mentioned their latest victim, Sarah. Blaire made it known that both Onision and Kai befriended Sarah at the early age of 12, and then eventually at 15 they began discussing the possibility of her living with them when she was having problems at home. When she did move in with them, they started the grooming process, and then they had intercourse with her when she turned 18. When Chris Hansen asked how it's possible that someone like Onision and Kai could still have YouTube channels, Blaire was just as stumped as he was. I have to agree, it honestly makes zero sense to me. I was so happy that Blaire White discussed Onision with Chris Hansen. It was clear to me that Onision piqued Chris's interest and he wanted to know more about him and Kai. I do wish that they would have gone more into the topic of the alleged child grooming, but the show was only an hour long and Blaire had to talk about other predators and issues, as well as this particular show wasn't meant to be solely dedicated to Onision. A week later, on October 23rd, Chris Hansen interviewed Repzion, who has done numerous well-done YouTube videos exposing Onision and Kai. Since Chris's interview with Repzion was solely dedicated to talking about Onision and Kai, we were able to get more information on the alleged abuse and child grooming that took place over the span of many years. Repzion discussed the victims' experiences with Onision in far more detail than Blaire White had done the week before. Repzion talked about how Onision had filmed Shiloh having a grand mal seizure rather than taking her to the hospital to be treated, and he also discussed Onision and Kai's latest victim, Sarah. What I appreciated about this interview is that they talked about Onision and Kai allegedly targeting young girls who had difficult home lives. They knew these young women were in a fragile state mentally and took full advantage. I also very much appreciated Repzion and Chris Hansen talking about Kai and how Kai had gone from potential grooming victim to becoming an alleged predator as well. And now let's move on to Chris Hansen's interview with Sarah that took place on October 30th. Sarah very bravely retold her horrifying story of the alleged child grooming and abuse that took place while she was under the care of both Onision and Kai. Sarah discussed interacting with both Onision and Kai through Twitter. Kai was the first to respond to Sarah, and they got along so well that they eventually made her the Woman Crush Wednesday. Sarah was starstruck and felt so special for receiving so much attention from her favorite YouTubers. Sarah was having troubles at home, and Sarah would often Skype with Kai to chat, and Onision would often be there but just in the background. At the time, she was 14 years old. When Sarah first visited Onision and Kai in Seattle, Washington, she was 16 years old, but they had been planning the trip since she was 15. Sarah said that the reason why they waited until she was 16 was because the legal age of consent in the state of Washington is 16, and Onision and Kai didn't want anyone thinking something was going on between them and a 15-year-old. Eventually, Sarah's mom did sign over guardianship of Sarah to Onision and Kai after several visits. Sarah made it known that her and Onision had a very rough relationship. He was often verbally abusive to her, he body-shamed her and made rude comments about her sexual activity. But when no one was looking, he'd make sexually inappropriate comments about her body, and he would often slightly touch her. Kai's relationship with Sarah was more pleasant, and the two of them had talked about being in a relationship when she was 15, but Kai and Onision ended up getting back together with Billy instead. Sarah did admit that they never did kiss and never got intimate until she was 18 years old. When Sarah was forced to leave the first time because of backlash from the internet, Onision would call her crying after a few months of being away, saying that he missed her and he wanted her to return. Sarah did eventually end up going back to Seattle, Washington, and she had gone back and forth with living and visiting there a few times. During her time away, Sarah would have alleged phone sex with Kai and Onision. At the time, she was 17 years old. 1 month before her 18th birthday, Sarah goes back to them again. The first week or two were apparently fine, but then Onision started making comments suggesting that Kai and Sarah hook up, which made her very uncomfortable. Even though Kai and Sarah never technically dated, they did have a physically intimate relationship, and Onision was included in that physical relationship from the very start. And this is where things get truly disturbing, horrifying, and deplorable. One night, while all three of them were in their bedroom on the bed watching a movie, Sarah looks over and Onision and Kai are actively going at it. Sarah tried to ignore them, but then Onision pulls her in and tells her to start doing stuff. Sarah said that she felt that both she and Kai were pressured into being physically intimate the first time. But that's not even the worst of it. Allegedly, during a few of these moments, their 2-year-old daughter was in the bed right next to them sleeping while all three of them were going at it. Absolutely disgusting. After this revelation, people started coming after Sarah for not knowing better than to do that with a child in bed next to them. Sarah tweeted, "It kind of makes me wish I hadn't said anything, like I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. I definitely understand now, but at the time I really didn't think I was hurting C. I really trusted Kai as a parent, and since he was okay with it, I thought it was normal. I'm sorry, C." Someone came to Sarah's defense and they tweeted, "To everyone coming for Sarah about the C story from last night, maybe you all need the story of what actually happened. Sarah is not a monster. They were getting ready to have blank when C walked in. They stopped and Sarah tried to put her shorts back on while Kai was putting C back to sleep in their bed. Greg took Sarah's shorts and flung them across the room. After Kai got C to fall asleep, Greg and Kai continued. Sarah was pressured into having blank with them while C was there. This is not the first time Kai and Greg have had blank in front of their kids. Another time while Sarah was 17, she walked in on them by accident and saw T sitting against the bed on his iPad while they were having blank. This is clearly a pattern with them and it's disgusting. But do not blame a teenage girl for being pressured into a disturbing situation. And yes, I have permission to post this. Please give Sarah your support. Don't even dare to put her on the same level as these monsters." Sarah liked these tweets. Sarah stated that she is worried about the well-being of Onision and Kai's young children. She worries that as long as they are around Onision, they will grow up afraid of the internet, of him, or messed up towards women as well. When Chris Hansen asked Sarah how many other victims are out there, Sarah believes that there has to be at least 10. She said that Onision would fly young girls out to see him, and some of these young girls aren't even public knowledge yet. For some time, it was suspected that a young woman named Beck was also a victim of Onision and Kai's, and Sarah stated that Onision flew her out to Seattle for the sole purpose of trying to make her their third. Chris Hansen asked Sarah if any of this would have happened without Kai. She said no. When thinking back on everything that has happened, it has had a major effect on her. She is currently in therapy and she said it does help, but she still physically shakes when she thinks about what happened. She is no longer trusting of people and doesn't want to be in any sort of romantic situation because she now views it as horrible. Sarah's story is absolutely heartbreaking. The part about the children being there while they were being physically intimate infuriates me so much that all I can do is cry. As a woman who struggled with infertility for years, I've come to truly understand just how precious the gift of being a parent is, and to see or hear about the abuse that some poor children go through, I just can't. Children are a gift, and they look up to us to love and care for them. Rather than be grateful and do right by them, they subject them to horrors no child should ever see. I hope they get out of there, and soon. Sarah is extraordinarily brave for going on Chris Hansen's show, and I appreciate that he asked her hard questions. Thank you, Sarah, for doing the right thing and speaking out. I know that couldn't have been easy. After Sarah's interview with Chris Hansen, Onision took to Twitter. He said, I wrote this so I could move on for good. When anyone asks me about what happened, I can just show them this and that'll be it. Wishing everyone involved a healthy life free of needless drama. Thanks, guys. And then he posted a link to this extremely lengthy statement regarding what Sarah had said. Because it is so long, I couldn't possibly read it all here. I will, however, show it to you so you can pause to read. I will also summarize what it's about and read key points. Here is his statement. Onision starts off by saying it's important to hear both sides of a story, and honestly he is correct in that statement. He continued on to say that the reason they haven't talked about the allegations thus far is because Sarah was a friend of theirs for years and they trusted her. According to him, she claimed the opposite about them than what she is saying now. He said that he no longer recognizes the Sarah he used to know and contemplates whether or not she was ever truthful about who she really was to begin with. Because of this, he claims that both Kai and himself no longer trust anyone. He said, Kai and I outright do not trust anyone anymore. Not a single person. The reason we don't trust anyone is simply because one day someone is your best friend, someone says everything they possibly can to assure you that you are a good person, that they support you, that they would never try to hurt you, and then the next day it's a full publicity tour going to every possible person they think could hurt you and saying the absolute worst things. He then went on to include a video of Sarah claiming that they never talked about having a physical relationship and never engaged in any physically intimate activities while she was underage. What I find interesting about this is that Onision told her to make this video. He said so himself. He said, let me show you a video that Sarah sent when she was literally told to be honest about who Kai was. She didn't post this video because she wanted to. She posted it because he told her to. What Onision didn't include in his statement was the outtake of Sarah having what appears to be a minor breakdown trying to film that video for Onision. Here is that clip.
Get it together, God. I fucking hate that I have to do this.
Onision goes on to say that the reason all of this happened is because he kicked Sarah out of their lives. He alludes to the fact that Sarah has the inability to care for people and that she went on social media and to YouTube channels simply for attention. However, he did go on to admit that he was mean to her like a schoolyard bully, but it was because he didn't want her to like him. What? As far as the grooming allegations, Onision stated, grooming is the act of treating someone well. I mean this in the manner where someone cuts a dog's hair, brushes him softly, etc. It's not bring the animal in and telling the animal they're stupid. With this internet logic I struggle to understand, it seems like there is no winning in that scenario. If no matter what you do equals grooming, then the concept of grooming loses meaning. So essentially what he's saying is that because he was verbally abusive to her, he was not grooming her, according to him. So, long story short, according to Onision, Sarah is a liar that was rejected by him, and because of that, she changed her story and went to social media with it for attention. According to Onision, professionals have come in and cleared them, whatever that means, and that clearly there was no wrongdoing because no legal action has taken place, and Kai and him are both free. On November 6, Chris Hansen interviewed Canadian pop star Shiloh, also known as Patient Zero. As horrifying as Sarah's story was, I found Shiloh's story to be even more disturbing. Before Shiloh got involved with Onision, she was a very successful and well-known pop star that had already been on tour. Shiloh was only 16 years old when she found Onision's YouTube channel, and she found that he was very relatable based on his content. She appreciated the advice he would give and the topics he would discuss. Shiloh was the one to reach out to Onision, and he gave her what appeared to be good advice about a boy she met online. After that, they talked every day about everything. After some time had passed, he tried to persuade Shiloh to come to Seattle to visit him and his wife Sky. She didn't. One day out of nowhere, Onision told Shiloh that he was divorcing his wife because he had fallen in love with her. She was 17 and he was 26. Onision made a plan to come and visit Shiloh in Pennsylvania while she was on her 4th tour. He allegedly told Shiloh that because they were planning on being physically intimate that they could get into a lot of trouble. He informed her that he would have to check the state laws on the age of consent for Pennsylvania before meeting her. The law states that the age of consent is 16. When he met her at the hotel they were staying at, he immediately started kissing her without so much of a hello. He pulled her on the bed and they had started going at it within less than 5 minutes. She said she was nervous and confused, but it was consensual. The hotel called the police on him because they found out that he had cameras in the room. Shiloh did say that the intimacy was not recorded, but the police checked his computer for inappropriate photos of children. They found none and they sent both Onision and Shiloh back home. It wasn't long after that Onision found his way back to Shiloh. He got an apartment in Canada and the two spent most of their time together. Shiloh's mom became concerned and they ended up having a falling out, and Onision pushed her not to speak with her mother without him around. Things started going south when Shiloh found inappropriate photos of his ex-wife's sister on his computer. He admitted to her that he took care of himself to those photos and also showed her the cartoon pornography he loved to watch. One where one of the characters was being R''d. She was upset, but went with it. It became clear that Onision was addicted to physical pleasure as they would do the deed 8 times a day, and when they weren't, he still found time to take care of himself. She was often in pain and had frequent UTIs. When she turned 18, they moved to Seattle. He isolated her from her mother, made it so she couldn't work on her music, which caused her to be dropped from her label, and she spent all of her time keeping him physically satisfied and making YouTube videos. Their physical intimacy was often violent. He'd pull her hair so hard she couldn't breathe. He'd call her a slut and a whore during. One time he took her to the bathroom to shave her head before going back into the bedroom. Once afterwards, when she was in the shower, he told her that she was too fat to be picked up during, and he didn't like it. She began to cry uncontrollably to the point where she was hyperventilating and she passed out and then had a grand mal seizure. Rather than take her to the hospital, Onision filmed it and posted it to YouTube. She woke up in his office not knowing how she got there or who he was. When she was 18, she got pregnant, but the baby died at 5 weeks gestation. She never passed the fetus on her own, and because Onision refused to pay for her to have an emergency D&C, she went septic. She went back to Canada to her mother because she was in danger of dying of sepsis. Onision posted the video. Shiloh has sepsis. Fortunately, Shiloh's mother took her passport from her while she was in the hospital, and she never went back to Onision again. Chris Hansen asked Shiloh why she never left him before, and she said because of loyalty, and also because whenever she did anything that would make him upset, he would send his followers after her. She would receive over 1,000 messages telling her to end her life. For more details, I urge you to watch Chris Hansen's interview with Shiloh. There is so many details I just couldn't fit in this video. Towards the end of the interview, Chris Hansen read an email that he had received from Onision regarding his interviews. Here is what he wrote. A couple of things. 1, I was informed you're having Shiloh on your show, I guess right now. I don't know. I don't actually keep up with you guys. I just go off messages on Patreon like this. Go ahead and pause to read if you'd like to see what it says. He went on to say, "Anyway, you guys should watch this video. It involves the last things Shiloh said about me before I cut ties. She had gotten pregnant with another person's baby while still in a relationship with me. You have multiple people who have repeatedly publicly lied, been caught for it on your show. At this point, it's pretty clear you are not concerned with journalistic integrity and really just like getting video views. That aside, the reason I'm writing is apparently you indicated you would have me talking more about it or going on your show. Whatever your message was there, it's a dead end. Please, I ask you, try to get Chris to do a To Catch a Predator again on an actual TV show. This live stream tabloid interview stuff you are doing right now, if you don't actually get your facts straight before broadcasting, well, that's not journalism. That's you just being another tabloid. What happened to Chris? What happened to integrity?" Shiloh confirmed to Chris that she was not pregnant with another guy's baby while she was dating Onision. She and Onision had already broken up. Clearly, Onision is extremely unhappy with the interviews that have taken place between Chris Hansen and the victims. Going after a man who has been going after predators for over 30 years and then calling into question his integrity, that's a low blow. Onision had also sent an email to Vincent after the interview with Sarah. This is what he said. "You mentioned journalistic integrity earlier, and that article proves the guest you had on had lied outright. Considering you care about journalistic integrity, it is important you establish to your audience that you took statements from a proven liar. If you need to review the article again to see that she in fact states the exact opposite there of what she states now, that would be in your best interest as an alleged respectable fact-based reporting institution. Additionally, your other guests have based their entire positions on me, on this girl who in the article, through her own words, outs herself for being a liar with the statement she made directly contradicting her current position. Blaire White, Repzion, and Sarah, all shows based around Sarah, proven a total farce. It is your duty to establish this fact." Someone is mad. During Chris Hansen's interview with Shiloh, Onision tweeted, "Remember that Kai is an amazing person and deserves all the support in the world." And he posted a link to the same article as before. Onision was clearly bothered by what Shiloh had to say to Chris Hansen, and he took to Twitter again where it's pretty obvious that the heat is starting to get to him. He tweeted, "It used to be like you had to do something illegal to get #MeToo'd. Now it's like sneeze and you're effed. The world is retarded. Yo, don't even talk to someone without a third party there to witness everything that happens. #MeToo wrongfully hurt Johnny Depp, James Charles, and countless others. Society has lost its mind." The news today consists of 10% important real news and 90% outrage. Grow up. Before you interact with any human ever, put on a body cam. Camera doesn't lie. Onision also took over Kai's Patreon and issued the following statement. Again, it's far too long for me to read as my video is already super long as it is. Please pause to read if you'd like. I'll also give a short summary. Here is what he wrote. Basically, Onision claims that Sarah purposely came after Kai and slandered them to get back at Onision for kicking her out of their lives. He stands by his statement that Kai is 100% innocent, is the nicest person he's ever known, and is completely and utterly broken from all of what has gone down. Onision says that they have been betrayed by a liar, and because of this, it is unlikely that poor Kai will likely never upload to YouTube again. Oh, and let's not forget that he also wanted to point out that all of us reporting on this situation are tabloid YouTube channels just in it for the money. So ignorant. So essentially, Sarah is a liar, everyone should feel sorry for Kai, and everyone reporting on this is trash. And now it's time for my thoughts on this. I really appreciate Blaire White and Repzion going on Chris Hansen's show. I feel like if they hadn't helped bring so much awareness to what Onision and Kai are accused of allegedly doing, Sarah and Shiloh and other victims yet to be heard still would be struggling to get their voices heard. Chris Hansen has been going after predators for over 30 years, and I believe with his help something may finally actually be done to bring justice to these women. I applaud Sarah and Shiloh for being willing to talk with Chris Hansen regarding their past experiences with Onision and Kai. Talking about traumatic experiences are never easy, and it's hard to know how people will react. Will they believe me? Will they hate me? Will my abuser try to come after me? It has to be very, very difficult, and they have my utmost respect. I'm also grateful that Chris Hansen was willing to talk about Onision and Kai not once, but 4 times in the course of a month. It has brought so much attention to the situation that hopefully something can be done about it. If the allegations are indeed true, then Onision and Kai, in my opinion, need to be charged and they need to be deplatformed before another young victim falls prey to their manipulation. Chris Hansen has talked about this several times, and I agree with him that something has to change with YouTube. Why do potential predators get to still have a platform while other content creators get demonetized for using certain words or talking about certain topics purely to educate and inform? Why are we punished while they're allowed to prey on a young and impressionable audience? I hope that Susan, the CEO of YouTube, gets back to Chris Hansen and agrees to do an interview with him to discuss this issue because it's become a very large problem for many. If this keeps up, many of us will have no choice but to find an alternative platform. She needs to explain why potential predators are on YouTube preying on a young audience while the rest of us are being punished for using certain words and talking about certain topics. And now for Onision. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If it turns out that the accusations made against him are false, then he seriously needs to consider going after them with a lawsuit for slander, because this can ruin his, Kai's, and his children's lives. Do I believe he's innocent? Heck no. But I feel it's important to offer thoughts on both sides of the situation. I believe the victims. There are far too many victims coming forward with similar stories for there not to be some truth in it. The fact that Shiloh's story hasn't changed since she began telling it tells me that she's not making all this up for attention. When someone lies, especially a big lie, the retelling of events tend to change, blowing a giant hole in their story, and eventually the story collapses. Onision claims that Sarah's story has changed, and to some degree that is correct. She did in fact tell everyone nothing happened and that Kai is a great guy, but I feel that that was the lie and not the other way around as Onision wants us to believe. I believe that fear played a huge role in her coming out with that short 30-second video defending Kai. Fear of causing a family to break up and fear of Onision coming after her like he's done in the past with Sky and Shiloh. Being inundated with massive amounts of threats and requests to kill herself from fans can really mess with someone's mental health. So, the fear of the possibility of all these things happening to her led her to cave into Onision's request. The way Onision has been handling and reacting to the accusations against him and Kai has been pathetic. To this day, he has yet to fully tell his side of the story, and when given the opportunity to do so, he blew it off. Requesting to be paid $350,000 from Chris Hansen was ridiculous. Add on to the fact that he threatened to sue his shoe. I mean, if you're innocent, wouldn't you want to clear your name, especially with someone as well known and respected in the journalism community as Chris Hansen? Chris Hansen has been in the business for 37 years. 37 years. To not only deny the invitation, but to insult him, his show, and call into question his journalistic integrity was exceedingly foolish and arrogant. His attitude mirrored that of a child throwing a temper tantrum for not getting what he wanted. I don't see this ending well for Onision or for Kai. Chris Hansen already has another interview set up for next Wednesday with yet another victim. I'm excited to hear what she has to say, and I will be sure to keep covering this story as it continues to progress. But of course, that's just my humble opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, if you are new here and you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Everyone give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you very shortly on the next one. Bye!